Are you afraid to buy a home? Good, you should be. It's because you're not prepared. Example, going skydiving without a parachute. Would you do that? You would not. Same thing for buying a home. That's why I created this course. So click the link below, let's take the course and get that parachute on so you can get to home ownership success. Okay, wait, one last thing I forgot to mention. It is so important that you take this course step by step. Don't skip any of the modules and go through each one of them. And at the end of a couple of them, I'll have a little quiz. And then at the end, as a nice little bonus, you'll get a certificate that if you use me as your lender, we will give you a discount on your closing costs. And also that certificate is going to give you the buying power to be able to get one of the best offers you'll ever get when buying a home. So taking this course is not only going to educate you, empower you, bring down your stress level, but it's also going to give you this powerful closing cost certificate at the end that you'll get presented once you complete the course. So no skipping around, take some notes, get some popcorn, and let's do it. Part 1, this is where it all starts. The biggest question people have is, what is the first step? What do I do first? And that's this, a solid pre-approval. A lot of people hear the word pre-approval and they're like, okay, what does that all mean? How do I do the pre-approval? Some people call it a pre-qual or a pre-qualification, okay? What this step is and how important this is you reach out to a lender, and not just a lender. People want to know a bank, a credit union, a mortgage company, which one do I pick? Let's talk about it. Picking the right lender and the right pre-approval and doing it solidly is going to be what everything comes down to. So, a lot of times people will ask around, get some advice from some people that have already done it and say, who did you pick? Some people will go on Google and get some reviews and research and search some lenders and find their reviews and find, a little bit about them. It could be a lot of work for you. And that's a lot of times where people get stressed out. And a lot of times they'll just go right into their local bank where they have their checking account with. This can be a little bit troublesome. A lot of banks and a lot of credit unions don't have all the options. They have about half of them, right? It's kind of like going to a hardware store that's a small one versus a big one, a big national hardware store. You usually can get all the options there most of the time. So this is where you got to be very, very detailed and dialed in. What I would recommend doing is reaching out to a couple friends and family and asking them who they've used. And if you can get a couple recommendations, write those down. I would also Google and research top lenders in my area, see who pops up. That can give you a little bit of research. You don't have to call everyone. That's where it could be stressful. Get about a list of 2 or 3 and see who have all been maybe a top recommendation and call 2 to 3. Ask them a couple important questions. I'm buying my first home or my second home. I want to know I'm picking the right person. I want the right rates and programs, but I also want really good customer service and a good experience. Let's talk. You start that off that way, that's huge because you got to combine programs, rates, and fees of finding a good deal there, but also your experience, your customer service, and how you're going to feel at the end with their communication. It's got to come together. And where a lot of people go wrong is they go just right into where they have their checking account, they dabble through it, stumble upon it, and then they realize they should have, or I wish I would have. Don't do that. Do this approach. You do this, it's going to set you up big time. What's going to happen next is once you select the lender you want, they're going to have you fill out an application. It's going to be usually an online application where you're going to type in all of your information, like name, date of birth, where you work, where you lived. This is so important to go all in. You're going to have to make sure you fill this out complete and that you don't miss anything, okay? Once you fill it out complete, it'll push right to that lender so the lender can work up your application. It will pull your credit because that's half the battle, what your credit score is. Don't be afraid by this, because your credit score is going to be a big piece of you getting to the next step of if you can buy a home. That's half the battle. The second half is going to be your income and employment, okay? And with that, your lender's going to want to see, at a minimum, your last 30 days of pay stubs, last 2 years of W-2s and tax returns, last 2 months of bank statements, and any other asset information like retirement, stock, any information that you're going to be using for a down payment. They're going to need these documents, so get them ready in a digital format, online and paperless, PDF saved, so you're going to be able to send those and upload those to your lender. Having this ready to go is going to be huge, because your lender is going to want to review it, look it all over to make sure it's legit and that it's all there, and then run your application with the right programs. So the paperwork, the filling out the pre-approval application is how you do your solid pre-approval. Now lastly, to finish and sum this up, it is so important to you. A lot of people don't talk about this. It's part of why this course is so powerful. You are going to need to be dialed in with your interview. When you're going through this with your lender, my income, where I work, how you get paid, is it hourly? Do I always get my 40 hours? How often do I get my overtime? These deep questions of how you're paid, how often you're paid, the types of income you get, and if you've deposited cash into your bank statements, these big questions is where you're going to have to be half of it and be all in when you're talking this through with your lender. A big mistake we see is people skip past this pre-approval process. They go too quick. The lender they pick doesn't ask these deep questions. They get the pre-approval letter. They start shopping for homes. And then after they're already under contract on a home, they start asking for the paperwork. It's kind of like a ass backwards way of doing it. You don't want to have that happen. You want the paperwork up front. You want the questions and going all in, asking the lender, is the way I'm paid okay? I've only been at my job for a little bit. Is that okay? I have these other jobs. Ask questions of is there anything wrong? Could anything blow up? And is my application solid with the way I'm paid? Ask these questions, go all in. You don't want last minute issues, because there are lenders out there, if you don't pick the right ones, they'll go real fast with your pre-approval, send you down the road, and then ask for paperwork later, and then say they have a problem. I know that sounds weird, but that does happen. So I don't want it to happen to you. Like I said, I have your back. So make sure this pre-approval process is done very passionately and very diligently with the paperwork. Do that deep interview with your lender and make sure when they send you that pre-approval letter, it is solid and the information won't change with curveball paperwork. I hope this makes sense. This is the first step of the course. Choosing the right lender. We touched on it a little bit on part number 1 with the pre-approval process. However, I want to go a little bit more in depth and detail on this one. A lot of people, when I say a lot, I would say most, are told as they grow up, when it comes to buying a home, go to your local bank or shop around for the cheapest rate. Now, I'm not saying a local bank is bad, and I'm not saying a good low rate is bad. Both are really good. However, when it comes to picking the right lender, picking it just purely on those two things, this is where a lot of people have went wrong. Let me explain. It's kind of like picking your lawyer or a doctor or a surgeon, right? Or a therapist. Do you just pick the cheapest one? You usually don't. And also, when you are picking your right lender, a lot of people forget about this. Choosing a great lender is not just about cheap rates and fees. You got to understand, how are they going to communicate with you? Are they going to be able to text? Are they available nights and weekends? Are they going to be able to be very quick? And will they close your loan on time? A lot of people up front, when they're choosing and picking their lender or their bank or whatever, they're choosing it purely on a couple quick, flashy things. But they don't forget to remember one of the most important things that this is all coming down to is your closing day, which gets determined by not usually the lender up front. It gets determined by buyer and seller and the realtors up front when you sign your purchase agreement. So choosing your lender has to come down to communication as well. If they're saying, I don't hand out my cell phone, or it's only 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, what if you're making an offer on a Saturday? What if it's 8 o'clock at night on Tuesday and some big things come up with your realtor, but your lender you picked is not available for another day or two? Do you understand how that's going to cause some mass conflict? Communication is key when picking the right lender, period. But a lot of people forget to ask about that and talk about that when they're choosing. So this part of the process is so important, just like having that solid pre-approval was on part number 1. When you're picking, it's kind of like you need a very, very detailed and complicated surgery. You're going to research and look around, and you're going to probably go to a few different hospitals and clinics in finding who does it the best. Who does it the best is usually what? Experience, the way they communicate, and their availability. You're going to pick a lot on that, as you should when buying a home, when picking your lender and your realtor. These are key, and I cannot stress it enough. After doing over 4,000 or 5,000 different home loan closings, I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. A lot of good ones out there, a lot of bad ones out there. A lot of people think, well, I'm just getting a home loan. What does it matter? Just gonna call my bank and call a few of them and get a cheap rate and good to go. Not with a home loan. With a car loan, maybe. With a bank account, yeah, maybe, right? Because you can just get a quick car loan in about 20 minutes. It's fast. Home loans, the average home loan, everybody, takes about 30 to 45 days to close. So when you do this, you're gonna probably have to talk to your lender 10 to 15 different times. And how that communication goes, how the experience goes, and will they close on time? Will they deliver? That's key, right? Will they deliver that surgery when it comes to that surgeon analogy? Will your lawyer deliver in the courtroom? Okay, let's flip it. What we're talking about right now. Will your lender deliver on the promises they're making? With the type of loan you want, with the communication and getting you to the closing table, smooth and on time. I'm not saying a home loan and a real estate transaction is always just going to be hunky-dory and peachy-creamy. It's not. There are going to be a lot of things that come up. So choosing your right lender, if something does happen, like you do hit a speed bump, you do bump the car into another car, how are they going to handle you, treat you? How are they going to solve problems? That is key. That's why getting recommendations. How was your experience? Look at the customer service reviews. See what people are saying. That's going to tell a big story on how your experience is probably going to go. Because I don't know about you, but even when I take trips, or even when I go into the chiropractor, or when I've had to hire a lawyer, the way they've treated me and communicated with me was worth maybe an extra couple dollars. It was, and I would pay it again. So this is key. And I hope this helps, because this is a big part of my passion in this industry. This is where we're going to talk about picking your right team. So big on this. A lot of people think that you need to pick a realtor first or find the house first. But this is where I want to preface and how important it is to actually get your pre-approval first and get your lender first. That's why that was part of part 2. Now on part 3, you've got your pre-approval done, you picked your lender, you know your loan options, you know what you're qualified for. So now let's talk about picking the right realtor, which is part of your team. Yes, a lot of real estate agents can all do about the same thing. They all have the same access to the MLS website, and they can all pull houses and get you into houses. But picking the right realtor is going to be as important as picking the right lender, because a lot of real estate agents don't have the experience or education or have the exact same type of style, communication style, delivery style, and also, do they have your back, or do they just want to get a commission check? This is big, and you can't just pick a real estate agent based off the listing on a house. This is where a lot of people go wrong. They literally start going online, they look for houses and they see there's a contact of a realtor and they think that's who they have to call. You don't. You want to pick your realtor because as a buyer, okay, a lot of people don't know this, you do not pay for the realtor. It's crazy, you don't. The sellers do. So when a seller lists their house with a realtor, they're gonna list it, and now they work out a commission agreement with their listing agent, the one that you might have called, that they're gonna split with the other realtor if they bring in a buyer to their house. So you as a buyer, your realtor is free. So you should have your own. It's kind of like going into a courtroom without a lawyer. You should probably get a lawyer and have your real estate agent working for you. And when you sit down with them, tell them, got my pre-approval letter, here it is. Here's my loan type, loan program, here's my lender. Give them a call, then you can open up the communication with the lender and your realtor so you guys can start to be a team. Super huge, very good importance there. Now that you got your realtor picked out, that you've gotten some recommendations on, just like how you picked out your lender, the next thing that you'll do is once you find the house and you guys have been shopping around, you'll write a contract with your real estate agent, send off an offer to the sellers and the listing agent. If they accept your offer, they'll sign it and send it back. That means you're under contract, okay? Once you're under contract on the house now, your lender now will get a copy of that to start your loan process. And also with picking your team, this is who also you're gonna have to pick. A home inspector, which will be done as soon as you go under contract. And then also, you're gonna be able to pick your home insurance agent. So whoever you wanna get insurance with on the house, kinda like you have your car, you have car insurance. You picked out an insurance agency. You'll also be picking an insurance agent at this time. So here's gonna be your team that you get to pick, and it's so important. Your lender at the beginning, your realtor, number 2, your home inspector, number 3, and then your insurance agent, number 4. So important. This is your team, right? And these are gonna be the people that are gonna get you through the whole process and that are gonna give you all the things you need to get this loan and this house closed and the keys in your hand. Now is when your loan process starts. This is where a lot of people talk about, oh, the paperwork and it was so much. This is kind of where they're talking about. Now that you got the house under contract, you got the home inspection ordered with your realtor, and the lender has now gotten a copy of your purchase agreement. This is when your lender is now gonna get back involved, like I said, and they're going to be ordering your appraisal, okay? What's the difference between your home inspection that I just mentioned and your appraisal? Two completely different things. Your inspection is not required, but it's highly recommended. You'll pick out your inspector with your realtor. They will then go out to the house to check stuff like the furnace, the AC, the roof, the electrical, right? The landscaping, anything on the house that might be broken or that there could be something bad and wrong with the house. Now, a lender's not gonna need this home inspection. They're usually a couple $100, but you get to pick and you set that up separately with your realtor. Once that's done, usually that's the green light. You get that back, you go over to the house with the inspector. If you like everything and there's nothing too bad with the house and you want to keep moving forward, pay for your inspection, the loan process continues. That's the home inspection. Now the appraisal is what your lender's going to order for you. You don't have to order it. Nobody else is going to order it. Your lender is required, and it's 100% on the lender because they have to use a compliant random rotation of local appraisers in your area. Whoever's up next gets it. Takes about a week or 2 to get back. That appraiser is going to go to the house now, just like the inspector did, to evaluate to see what the house is worth, if it's worth what you're paying for, and also they'll do a small safety check. Some big things like the roof, is there any mold, any water damage? They're going to look at some things to make sure that the house is able to be closed on as well. They won't go in as in depth as the inspector did, but they will look at a couple things. So take note, if you're doing a government home loan, FHA, VA, USDA rural development, those appraisers that have their government license, they're also going to look for stuff like chipping and peeling paint, anything cracked, broken, or missing, any electrical wires hanging, any mold, water damage, missing handrails, landscaping that is like heaving into the house, or any shingles that are peeling. If there's anything like this going on with the house, those government home loans are going to require that appraiser to flag them, and those are actually going to have to be fixed before you can buy the house. Yes. Some real estate agents and some sellers, if you're doing it for sale by owner, won't know this, pass by this, and then this will come up during the loan process. So here's something to really know, because you probably haven't went through the process yet because you're going through this course. If you're doing a government home loan and you're going to the house, make sure you talk to your real estate agent and your lender as you're checking out the house. Hey, we noticed some things. Would any of these things get flagged on the appraisal? Perfect time to talk about it. A good lender like myself, I always bring it up at the beginning before we even order it, so we can catch it early, ask the buyer or seller to fix it before we get the appraisal going so it doesn't delay your closing. This is huge. Huge, huge, huge. One of the biggest common things I see first-time home buyers and real estate agents across the country miss because they're excited, they're going too fast, they get the house under contract, and they're like, let's see what the appraisal brings up. Check these things early so you don't run into a last-minute delay. Now, during the loan process, your lender's now going to send you some documents that you'll get to DocuSign, like your application, your loan estimate, your intent to proceed, a couple documents that you'll get to sign to start the processing. Then they'll probably want some updated documentation from you, like an updated pay stub, maybe an updated bank statement to show where the money's coming from for closing. This is also when you have to call and set up your insurance, because you got the house under contract now. So talking about that insurance agent, in that last part, this is when you'll lock in your insurance as well. So basically, I like to call it a little bit of a paperwork party. So important you get this into your lender in the first couple days once you got under contract, so there's no delays in processing and underwriting. Your lender now will take all these documents and send them down to their underwriting department to review to make sure the income is what you say it is, the application is true, the purchase agreement is filled out, right? All your documents are there, and they'll go through to see if anything's missing. That takes about a few days to do. Then they'll come back to you, the lender, and say, hey, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, couple things underwriting caught or saw or still need. They'll ask you then for a second list. I've done this 12 years now. You don't just ever send documents in and you're just perfect and it's good and it's easy and you're done. That's not how the loan process or underwriting ever has worked, no matter out of all the 5,000s of loans I've closed. You will still need a second or third list. Totally normal. This is the paperwork party I told you. They'll ask for another list. You'll get a couple more documents into the lender, get it in right away, and most lenders will now take it all electronically. So you get to email it, upload it. Sometimes we'll even take text message pictures of documents, as long as we keep your information safe, of course. And then once you get everything in, the lender will say, we've got everything in, the appraisal's in now, it's good, title work's in, your insurance is now in, our underwriter's now just clear to close your file. What clear to close means is everything's done. Everything. Which this loan process, a lot of you might be wondering, how long does this take? About a month. Right about a month is average. Some people can get it done though in 2 to 3 weeks, because appraisals take 1 to 2 weeks. But some people take about 30 to 45 days, depending on if the house is, out of town or if there's a lot of moving parts going on. But on average, this loan process, expect to take right about a month. Once the clear to close is done, the lender will call you and say, we're clear to close. When do you want to close? Or we'll already know the date. Either one. You'll set the date. You'll then schedule it, the time, the day. You'll head over to the title company with you, the seller, the realtors. The lenders usually don't show up to closing because they don't really need to, because the money's already there. But you'll show up on the closing day. You'll need to sign some closing documents, not too many, your hand won't hurt too much. Bring in a form of ID, and then this is so important that finishes the loan process. Let's say you needed a down payment or some closing costs. You'll need to bring it in the form of a cashier's check or a bank account or wire transfer directly to the title company. You can't just bring in cash, okay? And personal checks are not also accepted by title companies due to good funds law. So you'll bring in your money, you'll bring in your form of ID, usually a driver's license, you'll sign the final papers, and that day, on the closing day, is when you'll get the keys and you'll officially be an owner. This is so important, okay? Truth versus lies, all right? So follow me. A lot of people that I've ran encounter with over the last 12 years is this. A lot of people think that all lenders and all realtors all have the same things and that everything's the same, and whether it's a bank, credit union, or mortgage company, they all offer the same loans and rates are just the same. Not true. A lot of people think, well, whatever my realtor kind of maybe told me, I guess that's it, I guess. Not necessarily true. Like I said, doing over 4,000 to 5,000 closings in the last 12 years, the amount of, you could call them misleading, withholding information, you could say it not telling all the way the truth. To me, those are still lies, right? And still to this day, no matter how many people I run into, it never fails. You can ask my team. Every single week I go to work, people will come to me and say, well, this lender told me that, or this realtor told me that, or is this true? Here's what comes down to this, guys, and how it's so important back to some of the previous parts of this course. Picking the right lender and the right realtor is key because they will tell you the full truth. Kind of like a local bank won't have all the lending options because they're limited of what they can offer. Kind of like a realtor that maybe hasn't been in the business very long, or one that has and tries to kind of swindle people into certain houses because they think they can get a quick commission check. I don't care however nice you want to say it or sugarcoating things, I'll still get this, guys. A lot of lenders will be like, yeah, don't do FHA or don't do down payment assistance. And guess what we'll find out after I talk to the clients? That lending institution doesn't offer it. Wonder why they said that. Because they didn't want to lose the client. They didn't want to lose their commission check. So, is FHA better than conventional? There's not just a quick answer to that. Should I do down payment assistance or should I not? There's not just a quick, fast answer to that, right? Kind of like, should I pick this realtor or this one? You got to feel them out a little bit. Get some recommendations. You know, get a little vibe on them. You know, ask them some deep questions. How do you communicate? Where are you at? Do you know this area very well? Here's my concerns. See how they treat you. You got to have people that are going to tell you the truth, even though you might not want to hear the truth, right? That's why I always tell people I'm a straight shooter. Little intense, but I'll tell you the way it is. And if it's not right now, maybe it's later. Like if you're not approved right now is what I mean. Maybe it's later and I'll help you, I'll walk you through it. But you don't want people sugarcoating you or being a yes person, right? This is what I also get too. Well, I was told this and I thought like all the fees are just the same. They're not. Real estate agents can negotiate their commission fees. Lenders can give lender credits and not all their fees lender to lender are going to charge you the same. Just like rates, you shop around and get a couple different quotes. You're going to get a few different quotes, okay? So you got to get the truth, you got to get the answers, but at the same token, if you want to pay for the best of the best and you're okay that, you know, your realtor's charging full commission, great. If they do their job right, you should pay them full. If you're working with a good lender that's going to service you amazing, be available 7 days a week, has all the loan options, but maybe their rate's 0.1 or 0.2 higher, barely changes your payment, but you like them, you trust them, your family's used them, you should probably go with that lender. It doesn't mean you need to go with the cheapest rate or the realtor that your coworker used. You should go with how you feel and what you feel is best for you. And that's the biggest thing. You can't go with places that are going to lie to you. You got to go with places that are going to tell you the truth. And there's even some times where people go, hey, I have this program. Can I close on it really fast? I'll say probably not. but here's when I think we can close. That's the type of people you want to do business with. Realistic expectations and telling you the truth. This one is called set yourself up for success. One of the biggest common mistakes I see a lot of people make is they wait too long before they try to buy a house. Meaning this, let's say your apartment lease is due up here in October, and you don't start looking into loan options or getting pre-approved till September. You only gave yourself a month. I see that a lot. You'd be surprised. Give yourself an ample amount of time to be set up for success, to finding a house, getting the right lender, all the stuff we've been talking about in the first couple parts of this course. I always tell people, they say, how long should I probably give myself? I always kind of give a common answer, which is 3 to 4 months out. Now, could you do it 2 months out? Probably. You know, if your documentation's clean, your credit's good, you've maybe looked into it in the past, and you know you're probably going to be approved, and you have a few houses you've already been looking at on your phone, then you could probably pull it off in 2 months if that's when you start. However, 3 to 4 months is better. Start early, get your ducks in a row, get your paperwork in, set yourself up with the right timing, okay? Another thing on this topic, when setting yourself up for success, make sure you go into this with a right mindset. So let's go into this, right? You're lending or going to be asking for a lot of money. Like, this isn't just a $10,000 loan or a $20,000 loan like a quick car loan. You're asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I always like to tell people this when I can tell they need to hear this from me. When we close on this home loan, you're going to feel like you earned it. Because a lot of people do, right? Over half of home loan closings, half, more. A lot of the stats out there that you can research say this, have appraisal issues, some closing delays that weren't even anybody's fault, just stuff happens. Liens on title, repair items on the appraisal, something happens with your job. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can come up during a home loan real estate closing. They're not always smooth. So going into this with the right mindset, kind of like a lot of times you'll go into traveling and flying, right? Think about this. It's a good analogy. If you go into it like, well, hope we get there on time, but airlines are known to have flight delays, and we'll get there, we're flying in an airplane, just hope they get us there safe. And we'll enjoy it, get some food at the airports, relax, enjoy our time while we travel. That's a good mindset, right? But if you're super upset, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they delayed my plane. Well, imagine all these planes in the air, getting people to all these places. There could be delays. So setting yourself up for success is also part of having the right mindset, okay? Secondly, picking the right team, and also knowing that you have the right people in your corner, and knowing that what they're going to tell you, if they're going to walk you through some things, follow what they're saying. I noticed there's a common theme a lot of times where people have said they've had a bad experience. It's because they've kind of fought the process. Like, I can't believe they needed these documents from me. Well, you got to kind of believe it, because it's a lot of money. And if you deposited money, or you switch jobs, or you're getting money from 4 different places, gift from mom, waiting for some money to come in from a paycheck, you're throwing moving targets in the air at your lender, and it's gonna get stressful. So just know, follow suit, get yourself into this early, talk about the things that could happen, and have the right mindset of is, I'll just be so happy and grateful that I closed on this house and people were so great to work with. Having the right mindset is so important versus fighting everybody the whole time. It's going to probably cause you some extra stress, so I don't recommend that, okay? Another thing with setting yourself up with success. The world nowadays, especially after COVID, has all turned paperless, pretty much. Whether it's signing your purchase agreement, signing documents from your lender, even some closing documents, your income and asset information that you're gonna have to send your lender, make sure before you get into this whole journey, you know how to get your documents electronically. I'm talking bank statements, your pay stubs. Don't run into this thing and go, well, I just don't know how to get anything. Well, start doing it now. Part of why you're taking this course. Making sure you can get all your financials, making sure you know how to get into your email, right? Making sure your phone is set up with all the updated apps and updated updates you need on it so that you can sign documents from your phone. Get yourself a tablet. Making sure you conform into the paperless electronic world of mortgage and real estate. Whew, can't stress this one enough. A lot of people that do have troubles, I'll tell you this right now. So if this is you, I hope this helps, is this. It's people that still try to hold on to everything paper and they try to go through a real estate mortgage transaction. They struggle. They're like bringing in documents, they're piecemealing it, they're bringing in stuff with stains on it and crumpled up paper. Don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Everything should be sent to your lender, uploaded. Scan and email is great, right? Faxing is still okay. Uploading it, taking pictures. Being into the paperless world is so important nowadays. Basically, I'll tell you this right now. I used to do loans, like I said, back in 2010, 2011. That was so crazy because we were scanning in documents, having hand signatures. It spent so much more time than it is now. It's quick, fast, click button ready. It is amazing. So get involved with that and be ready for that. Final thoughts as well. Setting yourself up for success, right, is do a little bit of research. And if you took this course, you also already did. So I'm proud of you for that. On to the next part. The importance of timelines. A lot of people want to know, how long is this going to take? How long will this take throughout the whole process? So let's break it down. The pre-approval process should probably only take a day to 2. Sometimes you can get your pre-approval process done same day. I know, it's crazy. Sometimes I'll pre-approve people in a couple hours. Well, why? Credit score was awesome, been at their job for a few years, W-2, salary, money in the bank. I mean, it's bam, bam, bam. It's clear cut, smooth, done. They'll get pre-approved in an hour or 2 from filling out my application. Some people that are maybe, multiple jobs, don't know what they make, self-employment, have some big moving parts, that might take a day or 2 because we're going to need their paperwork first to see that they're truly pre-approved. Okay, that might take a few days, but that's on average how long the pre-approval process takes. The loan process, people want to know how long that takes. Okay, now on average, like I said, it takes about a month to close. Finding the house, well, that's on you, how long that's going to take, right? And making an offer. When you're making an offer on a house, okay, with your real estate agent, sometimes the sellers might get back to you right away because you'll submit the offer, they like it, love it, and want to sell it quick. You might get it under contract same day. Sometimes sellers can have contingency periods where possibly they want to wait a little bit before they'll get back to you on the offer, maybe a couple days. You'll have to talk to your real estate agent on that, but that's average there. Then the closing day, that literally only takes about 30 minutes. Sometimes I've had people close in 10 minutes. It's crazy, however fast they want to sign. Sometimes you're talking, some questions, the sellers are in there. On average, the longest I've ever seen a closing take is about an hour. Kind of like an appointment, set it up, go to the title company, y'all sign, shake hands, you're out. The last thing to talk about for timelines, right, is when's my first payment gonna be due on my home loan? Whatever month you close on, let's say you close on September, you skip the next month, which would be October, your first payment's not gonna be due till November. It's pretty awesome. So you have a month off basically. So no matter what day you close on that month, whether it's the first, the middle, or the end of the month, you skip the next month and the following month is when your payment will be due with your mortgage lender or company or bank or whatever. So that's some awesome timelines and expectations. Hope this helps. I threw in a bonus part. You ready? This is the negotiating and locking my rate part. That is so powerful that I wanted to make this a bonus piece. So follow me. When you are finding the right house and you're about to make an offer with your realtor, this is where it can get a little wild. So I want you to understand what happens here. Your real estate agent's gonna go over some things with you. Probably check with your lender to make sure you're good for the payment, which you definitely need to do. Before you write an offer on a house, I always recommend this. Have you or your real estate agent send the exact house with the exact price so they can pull up the taxes and run you a lifetime payment quote that day with the right rate, with the right taxes, with the right insurance, so you know exactly what your payment's gonna be before you write an offer on that exact house. So key. Secondly, closing costs and numbers that I'm gonna need down. Make sure you run through those with your lender. Then this is where you're gonna get into negotiating. This is where you can actually negotiate with your realtor and put it on the contract, asking the seller for any special conditions. You can put in there where you want the seller to maybe pay your closing costs if you don't have those. Also to maybe fix anything on the house or certain close dates, special requests and conditions you'll be going over with your realtor. Don't miss this. This is key. And a lot of people want to know, how much do closing costs run? I'll tell you right now, it's hard to give you a set number because insurance can totally swing this number, size of the loan and purchase price, state to state with different fees. Check with your lender on the amount of closing costs. A lot of real estate agents from time to time have tried to use a rule of thumb of 3%. Kind of true, but I've seen big swings, so don't go off of that. Ask your lender specifically so you can get it right from the horse's mouth. Now, you're going to be negotiating and sending on an offer. If the seller counters back, they might have their own conditions to you. This is when you're going to go back and forth with your realtor to see if you want to accept the conditions from the seller. Now, there might be a possibility of saying, well, you know, we don't want you to be able to back out if the inspection doesn't go good or if the house doesn't appraise. Be very careful here. You know, if you want the house no matter what and have tons of money in the bank, I mean, know what you're getting into then. I just would never buy a house without getting a home inspection because I want to know what I'm buying. However, this is where the negotiations could get a little crazy. Sometimes they're smooth. Now, let's flip over to locking your rate as well. A lot of people think at pre-approval time, this is when your rate's done and fixed and locked in. It's not. Your rate doesn't get locked in until you have the house under contract and there's a property address. A lot of people don't know that your interest rate is tied to the address of the home. That's when a lender can lock in the rate because they type in the address, they hit lock, and your rate locks the day you get the contract to your lender. So this is super key. If you get pre-approved a month in, or let's say you get approved now, but then you don't find a house for a month later, your interest rate could be different. So when you're getting pre-approved, you're gonna get about average of what rates are at. Talk to your lender about it. Hey, what's my rate, or what are rates gonna be? A good lender will say, well, here's what it is today, but here's what we're thinking rates might do in the next month. So let me know when you find a house, because your rate won't be necessarily fixed in. That's also power to getting that payment quote right when you make an offer, okay? And finally, this art of negotiation is so important, why you have a good realtor and a good lender, so they're communicating, making sure they don't miss anything, because you're gonna be signing things that you probably don't know what you're signing, but make sure your realtor and lender walk you through it, so you're negotiating, getting the right rate, getting the right loan, and getting the right offer on a house that you feel comfortable with. Hope this helps.